So my name is Nick Juravich, and I'm a graduate student at Columbia University studying with Professor Kessler-Harris. And throughout the first half of the course, I've been here asking her questions about the history of women and work. And we're going to pick that up again today, asking about the evolution of women's political, cultural, and sexual lives after the passage of the 19th Amendment. Perhaps we can start with the political. What do women's politics look like after suffrage?
Well, they're of course quite varied, but one of the first things that women do is to become even more engaged in the political parties than they have been before. So, of course, even before they had the vote, women managed behind the scenes to participate, particularly in the Republican and Democratic parties. But now in the immediate post-period, they become part of the party structure. And one of the things that always struck me is how quickly women of both parties joined together to create the Women's Joint Congressional Committee, which is really a committee of women's staffers as opposed to women who are actually in Congress, of which there are pitifully few, of course. And this Women's Congressional Committee begins to put forward the kinds of legislation that women have opted for. So the piece of legislation people always talk about is the Shepard-Towner Act. And Shepard-Towner is an act passed in 1921, and in some sense passed in reaction to the fact that women now have the vote and Congress had better do something on behalf of women. Shepard-Towner provides federal funding for maternal and infant care clinics, medical clinics. And these clinics spread all over the country, but particularly in rural areas, for about 6 years, provide women and children, women and infants who, of course, there's no generalized or universal health care of any kind in those days. But they provide them with advice and prenatal care and postnatal care and care for children up to a year old. So they're pretty impressive, and that's always touted as the great achievement of women's politics, you know, an early achievement. But then, you know, if you think about the fact that the act was passed because women had suddenly got the vote, by 1926, 1927, the medical profession, which has never much liked those clinics anyway, which clinics are often run by nurses and with advice from the federal government, and the pay for the doctors who work in them is fairly low, and the medical profession doesn't like the fact that there's government interference and puts pressure on Congress to not fund or to defund the clinics. And by 1927, they succeed in doing exactly that. And part of the reason they do that is because, after all, women, they have a vote, but they don't seem to be using the vote in a way that's going to punish them. And so there goes that particular political activity.
Wow. So in a way, the lobby, the medical lobby, is sort of stronger than the organized women's lobby or the lobby for childcare at that moment.
That's absolutely...
Or better organized, maybe.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And in this period of the 1920s, especially the first half of the 1920s, when nobody's really sure whether women are going to have a voice of their own or whether that voice is going to follow the voices of their husbands, it's not hard to find a lobby that's stronger than the united voices of what we've already seen is a quite divided women's group.